with his hands and arms held high in the air to grab Steve Garvey.
From those 81 world champions, Steve Garvey, Bill Russell, and Ron the Penguin Shea. There was also a rookie pitcher from Mexico on that 1981 team who would win 141 games in a Dodger uniform. None more memorable than June 29th, 1990.
Fernando ready, and the strike two pitch is hit back to the box, dribbling to second. Samuel on the bag, throws to first, double play. Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
And if you have one today, throw it to the sky, because here is Fernando Valenzuela. In 1988, there was a moment that no Dodger fan can ever forget. The end of Game 1 of the World Series.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Vin, to be part of what many consider to be one of the greatest sports moments of all time will always be special, and the fact that it's your voice bringing it all to life makes it even more memorable. Thanks for helping inspire me to put on my uniform that night, and thanks for telling the story of our sport for so many years. It's an honor for me to have your voice attached to the soundtrack of my career. Vinny, congratulations on your Hall of Fame career. You're the best.
Also, in 1988, there was a Dodger pitcher who had a year for the ages, going on to win the Cy Young Award and World Series MVP honors.
Got him. They've done it. Like the 1969 Mets, it's the impossible dream revisited.
So now here is the Bulldog, Orel Hershiser. And the man who guided the Dodgers to the 81 and 88 world titles, of course, who else? Tommy Lasorda. There have been 22 no-hitters in Dodger history, the most recent of which was thrown on June 18th, 2014.
And there is one out to go. One miserable, measly out. Got him. He's done it.
Ladies and gentlemen, three-time Cy Young Award winner, Clayton Kershaw. to escort the man of the hour to home plate, our former Dodger president, Peter O'Malley, and current owner, Magic Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, Vin Scully. Superstitious as always, not stepping on the white line. And now beginning with the starting pitcher from Vin's first broadcast, Don Newcomb, and making its way to the starting pitcher from Vin's final opening day last Monday, Clayton Kershaw. Today's ceremonial first pitch baseball, autographed by every man on the field, will make its way down to Vin.
Good handoff, Tommy. Come on. Yes. Thank you.
Is go to work. Godspeed, friend.
Look here, guys. Turn around. Here we go. Come on, guys. Come on. Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back. Look, guys. Here we go, guys. Look here.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up, LA! This is our team. This is our city. The best city in the world, the best team in the world. You know it. This is us. It's an unbreakable bond. Our players, our fans, chance to get you out there. Every pitch, every run, every out, every safe call.
April around this time, there's a familiar feeling in Southern California. The chalk goes down on the dirt, the grass is freshly cut, and the hopes of the city fill this great venue. Yep, today, baseball returns to Los Angeles. It's a day to celebrate our past and look toward a bright future, to salute our old friends and cheer on new heroes. For the next 6 months, this iconic stadium will be home to stories yet to be written. Stories of emotion, of power, and triumph. So today is about optimism, hope, renewal, and joy. Today, everything is in its place. The eyes and hearts of the city are here, and today, Dodger Stadium opens her doors once again, and the next chapter of our history begins.
Leading off the game for the Diamondbacks, second baseman number 2, Gene Segura. Center fielder number 30, Socrates Brito.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you on opening day. The stairs get steeper here at the Dodger Stadium, so it took us a little longer than usual. But anyway, we're here, and Gene Segura just hit on the hand or arm, and they're checking him out. So the second baseman, who has been absolutely brilliant and came into this game, interestingly enough, as one of the rare people. He hit 2 home runs against the Cubs in one game. That's not so rare. But one of the 2 home runs was a home run inside the park. There are only a few others to have ever done that. And Segura hit by the pitch at first, and Maida ready to go now on Socrates Brito. Socrates said to his dad, "Who was Socrates?" And his father said, "Well, he was a very smart man." Well, in case you don't know, Socrates was a Greek philosopher and will forever remain famous. Maeda ready and delivers, and the pitch is low, and a 1-ball, no strike count. Socrates was the smartest man in Greece, without a doubt. However, in his teachings of ethics and epistemology, he did things that the government didn't like, and they put him in jail. The 1-0 pitch is a line drive base hit into right field. Caught is Puig before it hits the ground to make a fine catch, and then just does fail to get his man Segura at first base. So Puig making a good play on a well-hit ball that looked like base hit, and he took it away from Brito. We'll take a look at the lineup. Everything is in a little bit of hurry. Gene Segura, then Socrates Brito, hitting third, the #1 man. Certainly in the National League, he's the biggest gun along with Bryce Harper, and that would be Paul Goldschmidt. So Goldie checking in, right-hand batter, and wears the Dodgers out. So for Maeda, a hit batter and a line drive that happened to catch Puig's mitt. Otherwise, Maeda would be in a lot of trouble right now. But of course, anytime you face Goldschmidt, you're in a lot of trouble. He takes a breaking ball on the outside corner, and the count 0-1. The Goldschmidt, 2 home runs. He'll hit a lot before he's done. 21 home runs and a .340 batting average against the Dodgers in his career. Maeda back with a fastball low and inside. For Maeda, in any language, I'm sure he will have heard of Paul Edward Goldschmidt, who's probably as good a hitter at Dodger Stadium as we've ever seen, without one exception, and that would be Roberto Clemente, who hit .377 here in his golden career. Goldschmidt against Maeda, first inning, 1 out, hit batter and a line drive to Puig. Goldie waiting, Maeda very deliberate, set at the belt. Back he comes with a pitch, slice foul upstairs, and the count 1-2. Goldschmidt hits exceptionally well at any time during an at-bat, but particularly early in the count. He's hit 7 home runs on the first pitch. He's hit 6 on an 0-1 count. So if you can keep him around up there, there's a little less damage. Of course, last year he hit 36 home runs in 2013. That was his big year. Goldie chases a slider out of the strike zone and strikes out. So Segura is hit by a pitch. Brito lines out to right. Goldschmidt strikes out, and here's David Peralta. David Peralta is a wonderful story. He was signed as a pitcher, and let's see what's going on here. Okay, we're just going to load up the right side. We were waiting for Justin Turner. So he's the middleman out on the grass, and Peralta checks in. Peralta was a pitcher, signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, and as so often happens, it just didn't work. He swings, fouls it away, and the count 0-1. So he went home despite being discouraged and battled his way back, but it was a long way back. He's from Carabobo in Venezuela. He had 9 years, 5 leagues, 3 countries, and 2 continents, and made it back to the big leagues. He takes high, 1 ball and 1 strike. His nickname, and it's on a T-shirt that he wears in the locker room, Freight Train. And boy, he's been a freight train. Going home disappointed, no longer able to pitch, decided to try hitting, and fought his way back. And there's kind of a sensitive note about David you might enjoy. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Change up for a strike. And the count 1-2. Peralta has an iPad. And on the iPad, it shows his first major league hit, June the 1st, 2014. And every night, he says, before he goes to bed, he looks at that scene, which is on the iPad, of his first major league hit. And as he said, it just makes me feel so good, and I'm able to go to sleep. Well, okay. David Peralta checking in, 26 years old. Good left-hand hitter. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Segura still at first after being hit by a pitch opening up the game. Fastball runs away, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So David Sanger Peralta, that's his full name. Pitched 3 years in the Cardinal organization trying to make it. Couldn't do it. But boy, he has learned. Actually, his dad is the one who taught him how to hit. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Peralta backs out for the moment, running through his mental thoughts of what he's expecting to get. 2-2 pitch on the way. He has a look. Ball 3. It gets away behind the plate from Ellis, and down to second base goes Seager. and we will wait and see what the call is. So Segura at second, 2 down, a full count to Peralta, and Wellington Castilla on deck. It will be a wild pitch. Looked like for a split second Ellis had it, hit the heel of the catcher's mitt, kicked away. So Segura taking a pretty good lead with the shift on the right side. Maeda turns to see just exactly how he set up. Corey Seager all alone on the left side. Maeda trying to get out of the first inning, started off on a bad move when he hit the leadoff man Segura. Now working on Peralta. We were talking about Peralta struggling to get back. He finally got a job with the Rio Grande Valley White Wings in the North American League, but he didn't have enough money to get there with a 1,400-mile trip. He finally did. 3-2 pitch, swung on, ground ball. It's to Gonzalez. He'll feed his man coming over, and the play goes 3-1. So for Arizona, no runs, no hit, a hit batter, and a man left. And at the end of half an inning, no score. To score, they leave a runner at second base. Now let's take a look at Dave Roberts' lineup on this opening day, the third for the Dodgers. They open in San Diego, San Francisco, and now home, and here they are. Kike Hernandez opens up in left field. Yasiel Puig batting second and right. Adrian Gonzalez at first, hitting third, and Justin Turner at third, hitting cleanup. Howie Kendrick returns to the ball club and opens up at second base. Travis Thompson in center. Jock Peterson sits with a left-hander on the mound. Corey Seager at short. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. And Kenta Maeda on the mound for the Dodgers. Patrick Corbin, who had Tommy John surgery back in 2014. He's a remarkable basketball player, but he wasn't good enough at 6'2". So he concentrated on baseball, and here he is. Corbin turns on the rubber. 0-1 this year, 0-2 in his career against the Dodgers, and 3-4 lifetime. So Hernandez up there, 1 ball and no strikes for Kike. Off to a good start, 4 for 12, hitting .333. Corbin back with a pitch on the hands, and it is turned on and looped into left field for a base hit. So Kike Hernandez jammed a bit, but he's still strong enough to single into left field.
Right field.
And that will bring up Yasiel Puig after we take a look. For Hernandez, he couldn't extend his arms at all, but he's strong and he's able to muscle it into left field. Yasmani Tomas gets it back into the infield, and now here is Yasiel. Puig off to a great start. Scored 7, walked 5, hitting .385 with a home run and 4 runs batted in. Puig determined, I think, to get back to where he was and better a couple of years ago. Corbin ready, deals, fastball inside, ball one, 1-0 the count. Puig has a look down to his third base coach, Chris Woodward. George Lombard over at first. Base stealers have not run on Corbin at all. The left-hander looks over, comes to the plate, swung on and missed. Base stealers last year ran only once. They were 1 for 1, but that's in 85 innings. In his career, he's allowed only 8 stolen bases. So we'll see how he goes now. Hernandez held on at first by Goldschmidt. Pat Corbin at the set, ready, and here he comes, and it's popped in the air. Foul ground. Goldschmidt coming over along with Wellington Castro, but the ball is back into the stands out of play. So 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Yasiel Puig. Adrian Gonzalez out on deck. Patrick Corbin should easily be an opening day type pitcher. He's actually done that. But they figure that he could open up for at least 6 or 7 clubs in the National League West. In fact, including all divisions. He's had good. If that arm holds up, he'll help bring Arizona back. 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball jammed, little roll to the short. The feed for 1, the throw to first, not in time. So Ahmed to Segura, but no chance with Goldschmidt. Puig safely aboard. For the Dodgers, they've certainly had their hands on Arizona. Their record against Arizona here at Dodger Stadium the last couple of years, 15 victories and 4 losses. So with a runner at first, 1 out, here's Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez, who leads the ball club, and I mean that literally and figuratively, and gets off to a good start, which is typical of him. Hitting .429, he's piled up a dozen hits already and a half a dozen runs batted in. Last couple of years, in April, he's averaged .368. So Adrian checks in. The Diamondbacks load up the right side. It's a jewelry shop over there for the moment, at least. A look by Corbin. Puig takes his lead. Off-speed pitch down and away. And 1 ball and no strikes. Patrick Corbin in high school, and for that matter even in college, was a terrific basketball player. In fact, he broke his high school records with 3-pointers in a single game. But he's an all-around athlete. He was a quarterback and a safety on the football team. 1 ball and no strikes. Corbin again at the belt, looks over at Puig, now comes back to his hitter. Slow breaking ball low. If you have the book on Corbin, you expect a good fastball with pretty good sink to it. He has a very good slider and a change. Most of his pitches, almost 40% of them, are the 2-seam fastball, the one that sinks. So if he's on, he gets a lot of ground balls. 2-0 pitch to Adrian Gonzalez. Change, and Adrian took a big stride into the pitch, and he was locked. I think he was guessing fastball and did not get it. So Corbin coming back with that slider, and the count 2-1. Patrick, 6'2", 190 pounds. Leans in on the right knee. Hides the ball behind the left hip and then straightens up. Another look at Puig. Puig not moving but draws a throw. He almost picked Goldschmidt off. So Yasiel anchored at first. 1 out, bottom of the first inning. No score. Dodgers and the D-backs. Going back to 2008, the Dodgers have had great success at home on opening day. They've won 7 of 8. 2 balls and 1 strike. Corbin watching. Puig inching to go. There he goes. And a little flare, racing over, settling to make the catch. The 1 man out of the triangle. And so Adrian is jammed, pops it up, and Justin Turner will be coming up.
Third baseman,
Nick
10,
Ahmed, the
Justin
shortstop,
Turner.
moved over to make the play, just as Seagar did. when he was amidst the diamond. So Gonzalez pops it up. 2 down in the first inning, and here's Justin Turner. Puig in his career has 26 stolen bases, and he tried to go. That was more hit and run. Now with 2 out, he is a threat to go. Puig, by the way, has only stolen 2 of the 26 against left-handers. Well, he's faced one right now. So here is Turner. Been a solid hitter for the Dodgers ever since he came over, much to the surprise of many. When he was with the Mets, kind of a utility man. Now with the chance to play every day, he's been outstanding. Corbin ready. Here he comes, and the fastball sinks in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. Tomorrow, De La Rosa, Ruby De La Rosa, you may remember, a former Dodger. He'll go up against the Dodger left-hander Alex Wood. And then the concluding game of the series, Ronnie Ray. Robbie will be going for Arizona. Stripling for the Dodgers of near no-hit fame. All right, 1 ball and no strikes. Corbin again looks. Here he comes, and it's lifted into shallow center. A trio of Diamondbacks, and let's see, it is the shortstop Ahmed who makes the catch. So for the Dodgers, a leadoff single, but nothing else. No run to hit a man left. At the end of an inning, no score. No score in the ball game. 1 hit. That was a little pop fly single by Kike Hernandez. For Maeda in the first inning, he labored a bit, struck out 1, but made 15 pitches. Patrick Corbin gave up a base hit and made 12 pitches, and now each man trying to settle down. Corbin, by the way, fell behind on 4 hitters and still got out of it, and he made 12 pitches. So here is Wellington Castillo. Well, as you might guess, he's a big man as a catcher, and his first name is Wellington. So naturally, the ball players call him Beef Wellington or just Beef. He's big enough to be Beef. He's a stocky 205, and he's about 5'10", way out in front of the first pitch, and the count 0-1. Wellington, originally signed by the Cubs. He's from San Ysidro in the Dominican. He was 17 years old when he signed. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way off the plate. Well, one thing we know, Chip Hale and Dave Roberts believe in loading up the infield. Almost anyone who looks like that kind of a hitter. And so the Dodgers now stack up the left side. Dave Roberts saw the right side stacked up against him. 1-1 pitch is waved at and missed. and the count 1-2. Castillo, a smart catcher in the sense when he first signed with the Cubs, he asked, please place me with English-speaking players, and I'm sure Maeda would like to do the same thing to learn the language. 1-2 pitch on the way, and the right-hand hitter hits one on a line into the big hole just to the right of second base and into center field for a base hit. So the Dodgers have a base hit. The D-backs have a hit batter and now a single by Castillo. And the batter will be Jake Lamb. Lamb, a left-hand batter, and again the shift is going to be on. So the Dodgers will load up the right side. Lamb has a sense of humor, among other things. When he hit his first major league home run, teammates are typical for a rookie to ignore him completely when he comes into the dugout. We've seen that hundreds of times. Jake, left-hander, waiting, shows bunt, takes low, ball one. When Lamb came into the dugout, everybody ignored him, and he made believe he was high-fiving everyone in the dugout, all by himself, dancing around. And then, of course, the team fell in love with him. He's changed his swing a little bit. He's lowered his hands. He used to have his hands a little more up. Runs up as if to bunt, takes a strike, and the count 1-1. What he is trying to do is pretty much swing like A.J. Pollock. And what a heartbreaking loss to lose such a fine center fielder. And Arizona lost one of the better ones indeed when he fractured his elbow, and it was typical of Pollock. He went head first in an exhibition game. There's a drive into right center, and it's going to land and go up against the fence. Here's Castillo going into third. Steaming into second is Lamb, who's more like a lion. And runners at second and third. Nobody out, and Maeda in some trouble.
Left fielder number 24, Yasmani Tomas.
So Yasmani Tomas coming up. A kid with a lot of power, and we just saw some power on that drive by Lamb. So second and third, first base open, and Yasmani Tomas coming up. How much do the Diamondbacks like Yasmani Tomas as a player? Well, in November, back in 14, they signed him to a 6-year deal worth $68.5 million. They like him. He has a tremendous amount of power. Right now, he has not hit one in this young season. So Maeda faced with yet another channels, and this is a big one. Second and third, nobody out. Light breeze picking up, the flags gesturing over towards right. The normal breeze here, left to right. So second and third, nobody out. The bottom three of the lineup up there for Arizona, and the first pitch to Tomas is low, ball one. So Maeda has hit a batter. He's given up a single and a double, and trying to fight his way out of a big jam here in the second inning. Dodgers intently watching their new pitcher. Maeda set at the belt. Right-handed deals, runs a fastball in there for a strike. Gets it up to 91. And the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Yasmani Tomas had been first in the Cubs organization. Came to the Diamondbacks. Almost had an even bigger contract signed with the Boston Red Sox. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball with a little sink to it. And the count 1-2. In fact, I think that was pretty much somewhere between a change and a fastball. A lot of arm speed, but it registered in the low 80s. Maeda, second and third, nobody out. Second inning, no score in the dirt. Nice block by A.J. Ellis. Diamondbacks trying to snap a 2-game losing streak. Came in here 2-5. 3 games back of the Giants. Chip Hale, among other things, likes to experiment with his lineup. Bruce Bochy does as well. And what Chip Hale does, he bats his pitcher 8th. What that does to the shortstop, Ahmed, it kind of opens up the gate, because for Ahmed, it figures he's either leading off an inning or coming up with some of the bases unoccupied, and he likes to run. 2-2 pitch, chased and missed, way off the plate. Tomas goes fishing and strikes out. That is strikeout number 2 for Maeda. And the batter now is the pitcher, Patrick Corbin. And then the number 9 hitter is Nick Ahmed. So Patrick Corbin hits as he pitches, and we'll see what he does. 10 RBIs, that's not bad in his career. Nick Ahmed waiting on deck. So 1 out, first base open. The Dodger infield is halfway. We'll see what they do. Hard to believe they would squeeze Castillo, the big beefy catcher, and the first pitch to Corbin in for a strike. Matt Williams over at third base, the great third baseman during his career, most recently managed Washington, now back with Arizona. Castillo shortly down the line. Jake Lamb can move around a bit at second, and Patrick Corbin not quite ready. Maeda out of the stretch, right foot on the rubber, looks down the barrel to get a sign. No score, top of the second inning, outfield shallow, especially Hernandez in left field. Strike 1 pitch, fastball grounded to third off the bag, and luckily the Dodgers go to first for the out, because Castillo could have been caught. However, he just did get back as Turner threw to first. I think from where he was standing, Castillo thought that ball might find its way into the hole. Turner just looked at him and then went to first base. So now Nick Ahmed coming up. Ahmed has been asked, I guess, 1,000 times about hitting ninth, but he has told everybody, no, I love hitting ninth. It's really a big help. I'm not sure. He has a brother, Michael, and he was drafted by the Dodgers back in 2013. Maeda, meanwhile, trying to work his way out of a jam. Runners at second and third, 2 out, and Ahmed at the plate. Maeda's first pitch down and away, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Nick. He's out of East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. Went to Connecticut University. He's been quoted quite often about how much he loves to hit ninth. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Ahmed swings and doesn't get it. And the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. So Maeda working on the young shortstop, trying to get out of a mess. He made 15 pitches in the first inning. He's made 16 so far in the second. So 31 pitches in the first 2 innings. And he has Ahmed up there trying to get him for the last out. The 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. And the count 1-2. Last year in 421 at bats, Ahmed struck out 81 times. He's very bright. He was not only an outstanding pitcher, he was also a National Honor Society member. Graduated 17th in a class of 233. So here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, way off the plate, 2-2. So Maeda has now made 33 pitches. Trying to get that last out. Right foot planted. Now looks in to get a sign. Ahmed waiting. Shortstop off to a pretty good start. Starts to check. Did he? No, he did check. Dodger fans thought that they were going to call him out. So Ahmed just did hold it back, or as they used to say, break his wrists. 3-2 the count. First base open, and then the leadoff man, Gene Segura, coming up. Ahmed is not a power hitter. He just tries to make contact, spray the ball around, and now hitting ninth. He'll have some runners ahead of him throughout the year. 3-2, and Ahmed swings, pulls it to short. Seager picks it up, throws on the run, and gets him. Nicely done by Corey Seager. Maeda out of the inning. No runs, 2 hits. Runners left at second and third. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score. Bottom of the second inning, no score on a gorgeous day. There's a thin line of clouds as if they're holding hands in center field going left to right. Maybe they're just trying to peek over and take a look at the game. And the first pitch to Howie Kendrick leading off is low, ball 1. Corbin hits 91 on the gun. For Maeda, he made 35 pitches in the first 2 innings. The 1-0 pitch is slapped into right field. So welcome back, Howie Kendrick. Kendrick, a good solid 290 hitter, had that bad calf and then gets in the lineup and promptly a base hit. Tomorrow, the Dodgers and Diamondbacks at 7:10, and the first 40 fans in attendance receive an adult hooded sweatshirt presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. An adult hooded sweatshirt. So here is Trace Thompson with Kendrick at first on that base hit. Hit number 2 off Patrick Corbin. No score in the ball game. Bottom of the second. Trace's father was an outstanding athlete, now a sportscaster, Michael Thompson, and hitting behind him, Corey Seager. Seager waits, having made such a casual play on that ground ball by Ahmed. That's the amazing thing. Most of the times, Seager will make a play look very easy when it wasn't. The next pitch, change-up that picks the outside corner, and the count 0-2. Thompson, who came from the White Sox, has good numbers, .328 batting average against left-handers. He's a very good defensive outfielder, so they don't lose anything defensively when Jock Peterson sits down. And the breaking ball low to Trace, 1-2. No score. Bottom of the second inning, the Dodgers finally home. One ball and 2 strikes the count. Bottom of the second, no score. Kendrick at first. Thompson checking, waiting. Corbin set. Here he comes, and the pitch swung on. A little roller up along third, and he is going to beat it out for a dribbler base hit. And the Dodgers first and second, and nobody out. So Thompson gets what they used to call a bleeder, a little nubber up along third. Corbin couldn't make the play. Jake Lamb couldn't make it. So it's an infield single, and the Dodgers in business. First and second, nobody out. Seager, Ellis, and Maeda. So your first thought is, well, they'll bunt to move the runners over to second and third. Another thought is, no, it's too early for that. So we'll see. Seager, the left-hand batter, as you know. Corbin's first pitch, and Seager way out in front of it, and the count 0-1. Corey off to a wonderful start, batting .333. 4 runs batted in. Takes a quick look down to Chris Woodward, coaching at third. Runners Kendrick and Thompson, and nobody out. Corbin out of a stretch. Pat ready and delivers, and that's going to be hit in the air to right field. Going back on the ball is Peralta. Makes the catch. The runners tag. One of them advances, and it's Kendrick going over to third. So Seager, a long fly ball. Peralta with his sunglasses glistening, so that had to be a lot tougher play than you would imagine to be on the other end of a well-hit ball. So Seager gets a man over to third. 1 out. Dodgers at first and third, and A.J. Ellis coming up. A.J. Ellis with Maeda to be on deck. A.J. off to a slow start, 2 for 15. Corbin straddling the rubber, and in a moment they'll hook up. Corbin will be 27 in July. Pat out of a stretch, runners at first and third. A.J. shows bunt on a squeeze, and the run will score as A.J. is out at first. So a perfectly executed squeeze. Howie Kendrick was coming, and A.J. dropped it down, and there wasn't a thing Arizona could do but make the out at first. So A.J., a bunt, a sacrifice, and an RBI.
Pitcher, number 18,
So the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. Ellis out, 5-3. Boy, it's early in the year, and when you see a play so well executed, you know that Dave Roberts had them working a lot on it all spring. And sure enough, it was a right time, put it on, and to no one's surprise, it worked. So here's Maeda now. 2 down. He fancies himself a pretty good hitter. And remember, his first outing. Corbin delivers, and it's hit in the air to right. Coming up in a hurry is Peralta to make the catch. So Maeda almost drove in another run. Instead, he lines out to right, and the Dodgers on a fine execute play by A.J. Ellis. And the Dodgers lead 1-0. A squeeze play gives the Dodgers a run. Howie Kendrick scoring from third on the perfectly laid down bunt by A.J. Ellis. It's not that easy. One thing, the pressure is on the runner. If you commit a little too early in coming to the plate, the pitcher will pitch out. I mean, it has to be the ball is in the pitcher's hand and he is just ready to deliver it. And then you break from third, and it's not that easy. So Kendrick scores. The out at first, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. Good play by Ellis. Great lead by Kendrick. And of course, when you're starting to leave the bag, everybody on the infield hollers. But you leave just as the ball is leaving the pitcher's hand, and you can't do anything about it. So we go to the third, 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Off-speed pitch drops in on Segura for a strike. We told you about his 2 home runs, a collision in the outfield involving Kyle Schwarber and Dexter Fowler. Segura scored and then later hit a regular home run. Just for the record books, in case you're interested, how many fellas have an inside the park and then a regular home run? Not very many. Gene Segura, the Marlins, Real Muto had it. Foul ball going down the line. Coming to the line is Puig, but no play, so we can call off those players. Angel Pagan, when he played with the Mets, had 2 like that. Rusty Greer with the Rangers. Paul Molitor with the Blue Jays. Ryne Sandberg had 1 inside the park and then a regular home run. And Mike Pagliarulo of the Twins way back in 1991. For Segura, a wonderful player. He's had 1 game where he had 6 for 6. They were all singles. I guess Jesus Alou had 6 for 6, but against 6 different pitchers. So he'd win that award. The next one fouled off, and Segura 1-2. Kenta Maeda got out of a little trouble, leaving a runner at third in the first inning, and got out of a lot of trouble. Second and third, nobody out in the second inning. Segura finally back on his feet. Went through the absolute hell of losing a baby boy. He hits a 1-hopper to the right side. Staying with it is Kendrick to make the play. Yeah, the infant was only 9 months old, and it took Segura, as you can well imagine, a long time to get over it. And then God gave him another son, and he's on his way back. So here is Socrates Brito. I was talking about him earlier, a Greek philosopher, smartest man probably in Greece. Started teaching, and the government didn't like what he was teaching. They put him in jail. They tell me, or at least I've read, that he could have escaped, and he wouldn't do it. He said, I want to go to trial and prove that they were wrong, and then I want a dinner every night free. High foul ball. Segura comes over, no play as it lands in front. Turner couldn't quite get to it. So they count 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, anyway, with our friend Socrates, he stayed in jail and eventually drank the hemlock. I guess back in Rome, that's the same thing as we say, well, he must have had the Kool-Aid. Well, in 470 BC or whatever the heck it was, they drank the hemlock. The pitch fouled away. Socrates Brito. Boy, that gets your attention. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Maeda now takes a little walk behind the mound. One thing I did look up, so I might as well just tell you. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's going to be a foul ball out of play. Our man Socrates drank the hemlock, and they said that you would drink it and you would continue to walk around in your cell, and you would start feeling numb all throughout your body, and eventually adios. 1-2 pitch to Brito, a check swing for ball 2. But what in the heck is hemlock? That's what bothered me. Well, first of all, for those of you who care at all, it's of the parsley family. And the juice from that little flower, that poisonous plant, that's what took Socrates away. A bad outside pitch is chased by Socrates, and down he goes. So 2 out in the 3rd inning, and here's Paul Goldschmidt. You could really ask for time and just spend quite a while about Paul Goldschmidt. One of the first things that shocks you, you know, all the $20 million contracts you've heard of. Goldschmidt this year makes $5.75 million. Oh yeah, that's a lot of money, but not compared to so many others. A towering fly ball to left center, and our center fielder, Trace Thompson, makes the catch, and that'll do it. So just what Maeda needed, a 1-2-3 inning. And at the end of 2 1/2, 1-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the 3rd inning, 1-0 favor of the Dodgers. Kike Hernandez, who led off with a flare single to left, will lead off and take a strike. Kike almost completely jammed. He couldn't extend the arms, but he's strong and muscled it into left field. Hitting .385, has to avoid getting hit by jumping out of the box. And the count, 1-1 strike. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for Arizona, and we're in the bottom of the 3rd. Back comes Corbin, works a pitch a little low, a sinker that misses. 2-1 the count. Even though the Dodgers did a lot in the 2nd inning, they had 2 singles, a couple of fly balls, a squeeze bunt. It was only 12 pitches in the 1st inning and 10 in the 2nd for Corbin. His 2-1 pitch low and in, backing Hernandez out of there. 3-1 the count. Now the 3-1 pitch coming up to Kike, a man of all positions. He has a look at a strike, and the count 3-2. Quinn Wolcott, in his 3rd year as a major league umpire, he has the thrill of calling balls and strikes. Lives in Tarzana, and meanwhile going to first base and holding on with his 2nd hit is Kike Hernandez. So the Dodgers now come up with their 4th hit. They lead 1-0. Hernandez doing a great job in his leadoff role. And now here's Yasiel Puig. Puig hit into a force play. Hernandez was cut down. Puig was anchored at first, despite the fact the Dodgers appeared to want to turn him loose, but he never could get a jump, so he just stayed there. And then 2 pop flies ended the inning. So Hernandez off the bag at first. Corbin looks over at it and comes to Puig and gets it in for a strike. And the count 0-1. 1 run and 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for Arizona. Dodgers last year won 13 of the 19 against the D-backs. The next one to Puig is taken low. 1 ball and 1 strike. The Dodgers did all their work against Arizona here at Dodger Stadium. The Dodger record against the D-backs, 8 wins, 2 losses. When they went over there, however, D-backs played better. Dodgers won 5 and lost 6. 1-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 3rd. Nobody out. Hernandez off the bag at first. Corbin looking at him, now to the plate, and Puig lifts one into straightaway right field. Peralta coming up for it, waits and makes a catch. Left hands it back in. So 1 away, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
23, Adrian Gonzalez.
We were talking about how well the Dodgers played the D-backs last year here, winning 8 out of 10. Last couple of years here at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers have beaten Arizona 15 out of 19. So this is certainly not a happy place for Arizona, but that's where they are. So 1 away, Hernandez at first. Gonzalez checks in, and Justin Turner waits on deck. Baseball is a remarkable field in which to live. There are so many stories that just keep popping up out of nowhere. The first pitch to Adrian in for a strike. The man in charge of baseball for Arizona is a great guy. Gonzalez out of the box, now back in. 1 away in the 3rd, 1-0 Dodgers. Strike 1 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. All right, 0-2 the count to Gonzalez. The thing about the story, Tony La Russa, whom you certainly remember and is now running baseball in Arizona. Tony has won all the awards. And in a brief meeting today, a little memory. When they were both with the Cubs, Rick Monday walked with the bases loaded. 1973. The runner at third, Tony La Russa, came home to score. Tony got into that game as a pinch runner. And now, of course, Rick works here for us, and Tony is the big man for the Arizona Diamondbacks. No balls and 2 strikes, the count to Gonzalez. Corbin, who had kept his pitch count down pretty well, he's up to 33 now. Still a lot better than the Dodgers' Maeda, who's made 47. Corbin comes back 0-2, bad pitch, and Adrian is fooled and strikes out trying to hold up. So Corbin striking out a big hitter for his first strikeout of the game, and Justin Turner checking in. Kike Hernandez standing there at first base, 2 for 2 with the base hits, and no one should be surprised. Last year against left-hand pitchers, Kike hit .423. So he'll go up against Robbie Ray on the 3rd game of the series. Figure he has to be in the lineup the way he's been abusing left-handers. Corbin set, looks at first, comes to the plate, swung on and popped up. Little pop fly. Segura backs out, fighting the sun, and backhands it with a lunge. Fine play by Gene Segura, fighting the glare up there overhead. So Turner pops out. The Dodgers are done with a base hit, and at the end of 3, 1-0 Dodgers.
Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Carl's Jr., the Midnight Moonshine Burger with moonshine glaze and garlic pepper onion straws. Only at Carl's Jr. We go to the fourth inning after a few hugs with Sandy Koufax and others. I was told, because you certainly don't remember, my first opening day was in 1950. What was then, I guess, Shive Park. And the first pitch to Peralta fouled away. So in April of 1950. And the starting pitcher in that game was Don Newcomb. So it was kind of fun to be out on the field and a chance to say hello to the big guy. 67 openers ago. Peralta up there with a count 1-1 strike. Earlier we talked about the fact that he signed a contract with the Rio Grande Valley White Wings of the North American League. The trouble was he didn't have enough money to make the 1,400-mile drive from Florida to Harlingen, Texas. So what did David do? He went to work at McDonald's to try and make some more dough. Takes off the plate. He made the money, rented a car, moved all the way out to Texas, and hit .392. Then he was playing for the Wichita Wingnuts. And eventually back to the big leagues, but it was some trip. Good changeup. 9 seasons, 5 leagues, 3 countries, and 2 continents. David Peralta. Dodgers load up again. I guess we just as well drop that. I mean, it's almost every good hitter. Trying to go the other way. A slice foul ball back into the crowd behind the Dodger dugout. So David, who stopped being a pitcher in 2009, you have to really be proud and happy for anybody to battle back the way he has. Just off the corner. That was a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Just missed. It had good run to it, but it just missed that outside corner. 3-2. Off speed, popped in the air, foul, and that will carry out of play. Dodgers got a run in the second inning. Kendrick singled. Thompson hit a dribbler for a base hit up along the third baseline. Eventually Kendrick getting to third on a fly ball by Seager, and then the squeeze, and the Dodgers get the run. Pitch off the plate, ball 4. So Maeda struggling a bit with his control. Oh yes, this is only the first walk, but he's actually not been what you would call a control pitcher up to now. He's allowed 2 hits, a hit batter, a walk, but he's leading 1-0. And here is the beef man, Wellington Castillo. Maeda has a look. Peralta, a short lead, very short lead. And the first pitch off speed, in for a strike. No balls and 1 strike. Wellington had never thought about being a catcher, but a scout with the Phillies convinced him to go behind the plate. He lifts one to right center. Good jump on the ball by Thompson. He's there to make the catch. And back to first base goes Peralta. So Thompson has the reputation of being an outstanding outfielder who doesn't run, just kind of glides around. And that's what he did. Perfect jump. And he was well on his way to make the catch. So 1 out, Peralta holding at first. And there's Jake Lamb, who ripped a double to the wall in the second inning. Jake, left-hand batter. And even though there is a runner,
the Dodgers load up the right side. So that means Seager has to be very busy, keeping an eye on the hitter and wondering whether anybody can get to the bag on a play at second base. That's a strike. 0-1 the count to Jake Lamb. Jake has a look down at third base at Matt Williams. We're in the fourth inning, 1-0, favor of the Dodgers. Big swing and a foul ball back. Lamb is a big man. He is 6'3", a good 220. He'll be 26 in October. August 2 years ago, his first day in the big leagues, he had a late dinner with his parents and close friends and proceeded to hit a home run. His parents got the ball and they celebrated, as you can well imagine. Jake takes in the dirt. Good block by Ellis. When Lamb made his debut, he left 200 tickets. Break the box office. By the way, he was so excited. He must have been on the road or in Arizona. When he hit the home run, he was lost trying to find his way home. Rookie just called up, didn't know the city. And hits one on the handle. A little pop fly to Seager, who backs out and makes the catch for the second out. So Lamb pops it up. 2 down. And Tomas coming up.
Number 24, Yasmani Tomas.
Tomas struck out chasing a bunch of pitches in his last at bat. For him, a thoroughly forgettable at bat. Tomas hitting .211. Another young player. We told you about that contract he signed. He's 26 years old. And first pitch swinging, fouls it away. 0-1 the count. Tomas, as we mentioned, has socked with the Diamondbacks last year. 100 at bats thereabout. He had 9 home runs, but he'll hit a lot more than that. He has his man Peralta at first. No running speed there. Goes after a pitch, I think, out of the zone. It was up around the shoulders. So far, he is a bad ball swinger. It might be one day he'll be known as, like Yogi Berra, a bad ball hitter. No balls, 2 strikes, 1-0 Dodgers, 4th inning. A runner at first and 2 out. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So he's chased 1 pitch up and a couple of pitches away and down, with Corbin batting 8th in the lineup on deck. Fastball squirted to the right side. Kendrick stumbles, loses the ball. Rounding second and holding is Peralta. He wasn't sure, but he decided he better dive back to the bag. It looked like Kendrick might be able to catch up to it. Certainly got his glove on the ball, and then he appeared to slip a little bit and then lost control. He'll draw an error right there, and no chance to make the play. His right foot hit where the skin meets the turf, and that seemed to throw him off. Peralta wasn't sure since it took place behind him, and he went back to the bag. So Tomas aboard on an error charge to Kendrick. First and second for the D-backs. And now the plan by Chip Hale to bat his pitcher 8th. Well, here he is, batting 8th with 2 out, 2 on, and the D-backs losing 1-0. Off speed. Boy, the old story, maybe it never reached Japan. You never change up on a pitcher unless the pitcher is a very, very good hitter. Well, maybe Corbin is scouted and proven to be a better hitter, and he started him with a changeup. No balls and 1 strike. Peralta, who does not have a lot of running speed, he's at second, and for the same reason, Tomas at first. No balls and 1 strike. Fastball bunted up along third, gloved by Turner, throws and got him. So Corbin bunts for a base hit and it doesn't work. Play goes 5-3. No runs, no hits, an error, 2 left. 1-0 Dodgers. Dodgers, bottom of the 4th inning. Friends, you can get the best seats at the best price with an 11-game pick'em plan. Choose the games you want, including great giveaways, as well as the big games with the Giants, Angels, and Red Sox. So visit Dodgers.com/mini-plans. Meanwhile, we roll into the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Howie Kendrick, who singled to right field in the 2nd inning, scored the Dodger run on the squeeze. Up there, takes off the plate, and we're into the inning. 1 ball and no strikes. The 1-0 pitch on the way. That's high and away. Howie had serious calf issues, so they were very careful before bringing him up. And ball 3. Corbin, coming into this game, had allowed 3 home runs, though he falls behind in the count and he gets killed. That's a strike. Behind in the count, but he had not walked anyone coming into this game, and despite the fact Dodgers have had men all over the place, he hasn't walked anybody. Chopper to short. Ahmed makes the play. So Kendrick taps out. We have 1 away. Trace Thompson coming up.
Number 21, Trace Thompson.
Trace Thompson already showed that he is a fine defensive outfielder. On a ball hit by Goldschmidt, he got a huge break on the ball, a jump as they call it, and he was in position. Otherwise, he would have had to run like the devil to get to the ball in right center. So for Goldie, just another time he hits the ball well and doesn't get anything for it. Thompson fouls that away. 0-1. The name is Trace, T-R-A-Y-C-E. Trace Nicholas Thompson. Lives in Santa Margarita. Good size, 6'3", 215. And lifts one, slicing into right center. Coming up for it is Peralta, and he is there. So quickly 2 down in the 4th inning. And the batter will be Corey Seager.
Number 5, Corey Seager.
Corey Seager, and everybody who has watched him play for a little while, they all seem to comment about the same thing. He plays like he's been up here for 10 years. He appears to be very relaxed. They talk about not letting the game speed up on you. And obviously he is able to do just that. He plays at his own pace, and that's a sign of a big leaguer. That's one of the things they're always saying to the rookies. Don't let the game get too fast. 1-2 the count to Seager. 2 down, bottom of the 4th inning. 1-0 Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits. Dodgers with 3 shutouts in San Diego, and then being clobbered as the Giants came from behind to beat them 3 out of 4. 2-2 the count. Meanwhile, Kike Hernandez, after leading off with 2 base hits, takes in the action, and Corbin comes back just low, ball 3. Tomorrow night, Ruby De La Rosa and Alex Wood. 3-2. On the hands, and he turns on it. Line drive in the corner, foul. Corey put a good swing on that. That thing really left like it had been shot out of a gun. But only a foul ball, in the count 3-2. 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the D-backs. A questionable fastball, whether that was going to be in the zone or not. It was on the edge, maybe. Couldn't afford to take it, fouls it away, and the count stays 3-2. So you look and see, will Corbin finally walk somebody? He's allowed 4 hits and a run. Still 3-2. And on 3-2, a couple of back-to-back fastballs. Seager does what all the hitters do, fouling a questionable pitch and asking the plate umpire, was it a strike? A.J. Ellis waits on deck. He bunted in the Dodger run. 3-2. Another fastball. So Corbin is challenging him with his number 1 pitch. Doesn't want to walk him. Patrick has given him 3 fastballs in a row. So a 9-pitch at bat for Corey. 3-2. Down and away for ball 4. So a fine at bat for Seager, and that'll bring up A.J. Ellis. Ellis made himself known very well on that perfect squeeze play. Got the bunt down. Kendrick left just at the right time. A.J.'s out at first, but RBI, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. Beautifully executed squeeze play. Pretty good word to describe it, squeeze. I mean, you have the pitcher and the catcher and the runner all right there in the same spot, almost the exact same time. Ball 1 to A.J. And now Wellington Castilla out to the mound. Ellis did what he was told and did it well, which in a sense has been exactly the way he has played ever since he came to the Dodgers. I always remember, and I will never forget, the fact that A.J. Wells, one of his children, was born in a car while A.J. was racing to the hospital. So you ask him, where was the child born? He said, a Toyota Camry. Okay, place of birth. Corbin finally gets out in front of a hitter with a strike. 0-1 the count. You certainly don't expect Seager to do any running with Ellis at the plate and then the pitcher, Maeda, on deck. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball just inside. That's that same fastball he gave Seager 3 times at 93. Dodgers started the day second place, 4 wins, 3 losses, 1 back of the Giants. Big chopper to shortstop. Ahmed throws on the run. So no runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 4, it remains Dodgers 1, D-backs nothing. Cold hard fact is the fact since 2008 that the Dodgers have been extremely successful in home openers. Starting in 08, only Detroit has an edge. They've won 8 of 9 at home opening. Dodgers 7-1. Red Sox, White Sox, and Giants 7-2. And there's nothing like a win opening day, especially if you're a new manager. I mean, the whole town awaits your arrival. And if you can get number 1, it's a good feeling. He had a great feeling in San Diego and a bad feeling in San Francisco. The trials and tribulations of a manager in big leagues. Dave Roberts. Meanwhile, here come the D-backs. Nick Ahmed, the white shoe man, as the shortstop leading off, then Gene Segura and Socrates Brito. Nick Ahmed might be batting 9th, but he's leading off. Ahmed's another fella who was a pitcher and now a shortstop. Pops that up. Seager on the grass, fighting the sun a little bit, then lunges to his left. When Ahmed was in high school, he was 21-3 as a pitcher. But instead, big league shortstop like Seager. 1 out, and here's Gene Segura, hit by a pitch and grounded out. So far, Maeda gave up a single to Castillo and a double to Lamb. He also had Segura get to third, and otherwise he shut the D-backs down. Ball 1. 1-0. Segura, one of the better shortstops, and moved over to second base. Grounds one to the hole, backhanded by throw by Seager is too late. And Segura is aboard with an infield single. Nice effort by Corey Seager. For Maeda, that would be the 3rd hit that he's allowed. So Segura at first, and here comes Socrates Brito. Flied to right and struck out. Is there anything else I can tell you about Socrates Brito without talking about Socrates?
Ball one. There goes the runner on a hit-and-run fly ball. Very playable. Thompson signaled he was going to catch it, and almost messing up the play coming up was Hernandez. So, of course, they have to have a little meeting there. They haven't played together, I don't believe, all spring. Kike almost took it away. When you're the center fielder, and especially he just called, waved his hands, you're the captain. You take anything you can get, anything you can reach. But Kike is a pumped up kind of a player. So it goes as a questionable out. So here's the man, Paul Goldschmidt, and for the Dodgers, hold on to their hats. Goldie takes a ball, 1-0 the count. Not only is Goldie a great offensive hitter and a good first baseman, but from what I hear, he is a favorite son amongst the team. They just love him. Very modest. 1-1. He gets a lot of intentional walks. He had 29 last year. Of course, if you want to talk about hitters getting an intentional walk, no, not Babe Ruth or anybody like that. Barry Bonds. Wow, there goes the runner late. The throw down is there waiting for him. I'm not sure if Segura knew exactly what he was doing, because he started to go way too early, then tried to speed it up, and he pays the price. So Segura perhaps mixing up signs, and he is shot down. The Diamondbacks are somewhat stunned. I mean, Segura is still kneeling on the bag. The first base coach, Dave McKay, going over to talk to him. Take another look. He did not have good running speed, even though he got a big jump. He's nailed. And we're going to the bottom half of the inning. 1-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the fifth inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Patrick Corbin head-to-head with Kenta Maeda, and in for a strike, 0-1. You can't let the day go by without thinking about the heartbreak Arizona had when they lost their talented center fielder, A.J. Pollock. 1 out. It's an indication of what kind of a player Pollock is. One reason why he was such a favorite, the fact that he got injured in an exhibition game on a meaningless play when he was trying to get home head first. And as he tumbled, the arm snapped in obvious pain. Right about there.
Now, A.J. Pollock is one of the more outstanding players in the game. I mean, you take all the center fielders in the National League. In fact, you can include a couple in the American League, like Mike Trout last year. The great Trout hit .299. There's a hopper to third, and before you know it, the Dodgers have 2 out, and the batter will be Puig. Yeah, Mike Trout hit .299. A.J. Pollock hit .315. With runners in scoring position, Pollock hit .308. With runners in scoring position with 2 out, he hit .322. And if you get Pollock up to bat with the bases loaded, he hit .556. So a remarkable young player. And we're so sorry that fate gave him such a bad deal. And of course, for Arizona, trying somehow to get over it. Socrates Brito, playing center field, is basically a corner outfielder. Not a center fielder, but they're trying. And another disappointment for Arizona, Shelby Miller and Zach Greinke. Collectively, they're 0-4. Line drive, base hit by Puig. And he's going to go for 2. The throw is off the bag. He is safe. Yasiel Puig barely getting there, coming off the bag, and then reaching and getting the hand on the bag before being tagged out. Is a routine single, and he made it into a double, barely hanging on. He's off the bag, that close, pulled the hand back, and then went with the left hand, and he saved. Oh, what a head play that was. Now, naturally, Arizona is going to appeal. Segura trying to get his hand between Puig's hand and the bag. So they're going to review it. Ever since they've started to do this, to me, it shows one particular thing. How good the umpires are. Took that hand off, came back, got it on the bag. He was ruled safe. They are so good, the umpires are. I mean, you and I see it. The umpire sees it. And then everyone looks at it from all kinds of angles. And even the crowd is not quite sure. Normally, they are for any home team. But they show it from one angle and they groan. Show it from another and they cheer. Take a look. Here's Segura diving back at the bag. Watch the hand. It's on. Now it comes off. And now another try. And again, Puig switched hands. So the wild horse looked more like an octopus. One hand going here, one hand going there. That was quite a battle between Puig and Segura. And the jury is still out. 2 out. Puig is at second base. And the Dodgers lead 1-0 in the 5th inning. Look at that. I mean, you realize how long they're taking in New York? And the poor umpire at second base, Mark Carlson, had, what, a millimeter of a second to make the call. And it was a tough call because they were playing handsy down there on the bag. Boy, they are terrific. The umpires, bless them. But Dave Roberts, he's hoping his man has a double. Of course, Dave was a marvelous base runner. Puig just put on quite a show. The crowd, I don't think, could see it nearly as well as those of you looking on television. One hand going one way, the other hand going the other way. That was amazing. And difficult to call. As the umpires say, our job is to get it right. And sometimes it's virtually impossible to get it right. And that was one of those plays. Which hand was tagged? Wow. Well, they're still not ready to make a call. It's a big play, especially in a game that's 1-0. Segura and Puig have a chance to chat with each other a little while. Segura's from the Dominican Republic, from Santo Domingo, and of course Yasiel from Cuba. Okay, fellas. Now let's see. Safe. So Yasiel Puig wins the battle with Segura. Marvelous baseball play. Starting to reach with one hand, pulling the hand back, then going with the other, then faking with the other, and going back with the first one. You don't see that kind of a play very often. No, it was a fine play by Puig, albeit a gamble. But with 2 out, nobody on, he wanted to shake something up, and did. Off speed, lifted to left, very playable. Yasmani Tomas is there. And despite all the fine handiwork of Puig, Dodgers failed to score. And at the end of 5, 1-0 Dodgers. In 1960, the Dodgers had opening day. It was actually opening night at the Coliseum. A record crowd, 67,550. And the Dodgers, coming off a World Championship, beat the Chicago Cubs 3-2. Let's go back to this one. Maeda leading 1-0. Paul Goldschmidt. And 1 ball and no strikes. Goldie struck out in the first inning, and a long fly ball out to Trace Thompson in right center in the third. Fastball in at the kneecaps. Corbin made only 7 pitches in the last inning. So he'd made a total of 63. Maeda here in the 6th inning has already made 78 pitches. Maeda, remember, has a history of some elbow problems. Slider down and away. Good pitch. 2-2 the count. Kenta Maeda. He's 6 feet. They say 155. He may be a little bit bigger, but not much. Sinker. Well, it was 5 years ago, almost 6, when Kenta Maeda won the Japanese award to title him the top pitcher in Japanese pro baseball. He also pitched a no-hitter. 74th Japanese pitcher to pitch a no-hitter. 3-2. Ground ball up the middle. Seager up with it and got him. So if you have one shortcoming for Goldschmidt, he's a big man and he's walking very slowly back to the dugout. I think he might have hurt himself. Let's see. Or either that, he just thought it was closer play. He kind of had his left hand just below his belt, and I thought maybe he had pulled something, but he's okay. Nice play by Seager. 1 away here in the 6th. It was that close. Ball's in the glove. Oh, 1 away. David Peralta grounded out and walked. 0 for 1. The shift is on. In there. 0-2 the count. Maeda now pitch count up to 83. Missed with a fastball. He didn't throw that hard. Certainly not the fastball that you see in the majors. 89, 90. His control is great. It was a shock when he hit Segura in the 1st inning and walked Peralta in the 4th. There you can see Peralta chasing a bad ball. The heat comes up empty. 2 down.
Catcher, Wellington Castillo.
That brings up Wellington Castillo. 4 strikeouts for Kenta Maeda. 1 run, 5 hits, and 1 error for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits, and no errors for Arizona. Dodgers trying to get to 5-3. Arizona faced with a loss would be 2-6. Off speed pitch in for a strike. Wellington single to center, fly to center. Wound up at 3rd. Diamondbacks have had a couple of men get to 3rd, but no one to score. Segura got to 3rd in the 1st inning. Castilla in the 2nd. One ball, 1 strike. Boy, it gives you that big arm thrust, and then a changeup pops up. 88 pitches. On that one, you really were drawn to his shoulder, and I'm sure that fools the hitter. That staggers A.J. Ellis. A.J. okay. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 catcher empathizing with the other. 2-2. Dodger run came in the 2nd inning. Kendrick singled. Thompson singled. Fly ball got him to 3rd. And Ellis bunted and squeezed in the run. Fly ball, and Hernandez has a long way to come, and he'll have to play it on a bounce. So Castillo comes up with his 2nd hit. He has nothing to beef about.
Third baseman Jake Lamb.
Wellington. Here's Jake Lamb. Lamb doubled and popped up. We mentioned earlier about the 1-2 pitchers, Zach Greinke and Shelby Miller, each being 0 for 2. Miller's earned run average is 8.1. Greinke's earned run average 9.9. So the Diamondbacks with a couple of fine pitchers who are just not quite ready, obviously, and that consequently gives the Diamondbacks such a slow start. And there's our man Zack Greinke sitting back in the shadows, certainly accustomed to the spotlight here. Pedro Baez begins to warm up now because Greinke is getting high up in pitches, 92 pitches, and he's in the 6th inning, and it's only his 2nd start. I'm sure 100 pitches and they'll start really analyzing him like they did with Stripling in San Francisco. Talking about Stripling taking out 7 1/3 innings with a no-hitter. In San Diego, Preston Gomez, who at one time was a Dodger coach, Preston Gomez was the manager in San Diego. Here's the 3-0 pitch in there. Preston Gomez took a pitcher out, pitching a no-hitter for 7 or 8 innings, I forget. Took him out. And after the game, the writer said, "Why did you take him out?" And Preston Gomez honestly said, "He's too young to pitch a no-hitter." That's the old school. Line drive into right field. That's going to go to the wall. Pursued by Puig. Here comes Castillo, the catcher, rounding third. The relay coming in on a good hop. He is out at the plate. Take another look. There's Puig coming up with it. He hits the relay man, and the throw to the plate is perfect. Wellington was out by several feet, and the Dodgers hold on to a 1-0 lead. Defensive play started by Yasiel Puig. First, Puig has to run the ball down to the gate like that. Now he has to hit the cutoff man, and he does. The cutoff man is Justin Turner, the third baseman, and he has Wellington Castro out by a bunch. Great Dodger defensive play from Puig to Turner to Ellis. And Wellington Castillo nailed. So the Dodgers have performed 2 difficult plays exceptionally well. One was the bunt, and now this one was a gem. So Puig gets the ball, hits the cutoff man, who happens to be Justin Turner, who throws an arrow to home plate. So it's still 1-0 favor of the Dodgers, and we're in the bottom of the 6th. Now, one concern would certainly be the Dodgers starting pitcher, Kenta Maeda. He has now made 95 pitches. That might be enough, 6 innings. And Pedro Baez is still throwing, so you have to believe that they might hit for Maeda. Remember also, Maeda in his first start went 6 and had a shutout, and he's gone 6 today and has a shutout. So he is starting his career, and I don't believe he'll pitch any more today. He's starting his career 12 shutout innings. Oh, plus a home run too. That's fouled off first. Goldie coming over. No play. Dodgers squeeze in a run, make a great relay play. Talking about scoreless innings in Dodger history to begin your career. Dave Stewart, and of course he's the big man now in baseball for Arizona. Dave had 18 1/3. Bob Welch 15 1/3. Pedro Estacio 14. Maeda 12 along with Sutcliffe. High chopper over the mound. Behind the bag is Segura. Guns it low and away, and Goldie makes a nice play at first base. So Turner losing a base hit. Good play by Segura. Goes for 3. And with 1 out, Howie Kendrick singled and grounded out. We are looking in the Dodger bullpen. Pedro Baez is still throwing. So by that you have to believe Maeda is finished for the day. There's Pedro grinding it out. So 1 away. Here's Kendrick. Ball 1. One other thing about that cutoff play and the resultant out at home plate. On a drive to center, going back and over is Brito, makes the play. Nice play in center by a corner outfielder, and Trace Thompson coming up. Normally, on a base hit that would score a run perhaps to right field, you're looking for either the second baseman or certainly the shortstop. But instead with the Dodgers, it was Justin Turner in the perfect spot, the perfect throw by Puig, and a good tag by A.J. Ellis. So it's still 1-0 Dodgers. And that's a base hit to left field. So Trace Thompson had a bunt single, kind of, wasn't really a bunt, a swinging bunt they used to call it. Little roller up along third. Now he's 2 for 3. And Corey Seager coming up. Seager has flied to right and walked 0 for 1. Thompson off the bag with 2 out. Corbin has allowed 6 hits, 1 run. He has walked 1, and the run came in on the squeeze bunt by A.J. Ellis. Foul back. One of the big outs today was in the first inning. Arizona had Segura at third with 2 out, and David Peralta at the plate. And Peralta grounded out to end the inning. But the point is, last year, with a runner in scoring position and 2 out, Peralta hit 400, but not today. Seager chasing that low breaking ball. No balls, 2 strikes. We're in the 6th. The Diamondbacks have Tomas, Corbin, and Ahmed in the 7th inning. No one throwing in the Arizona pen. Baez is still at it. Popped in the air, back a third down the line. A trio of D-backs. It's Ahmed, the shortstop, making the play. So a nice play by Nick Ahmed. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 6, 1-0 Dodgers. Dodgers holding on to a 1-0 lead as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Pedro Baez, who warmed up for an inning behind Kenta Maeda, finally comes into the game. Maeda, by way, another fine performance. 6 innings, no runs allowed, 5 hits, a walk. He hit a batter and he struck out 4. Tough ball game for Patrick Corbin. Corbin has pitched well. He's allowed 6 hits and 1 run. One thing about Corbin's record over his young career, if Arizona gives him 3 runs, his record is 30-2. But so far, they're giving him nothing. So Tomas, Corbin, and Ahmed, again, the pitcher batting 8th. Phil Gosselin, right-hand batter, comes out of the dugout. So apparently it's Tomas, then Gosselin. All right, Baez taking a little time, getting squared away. Good fastball. Of course, he throws everything hard, 96 miles an hour. One run, 6 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 5 hits for Arizona. Popped in the air. Back of the line comes Adrian. Cross the line in foul ground. Backhands it going away. Nice play. Say, friends, a reminder, Dodgers Giants. Starting Friday night. So be sure to get your tickets today. And to purchase, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as the Dodgers try to repay the favor and hand the Giants a couple of big losses. So 1 away. Phil Gosselin will come up and bat for Corbin in the number 8 slot. Gosselin out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, went to school at the University of Virginia and was drafted by the Braves. He's a second baseman. And a strike. Gosselin was not drafted out of high school, so he spent 3 years in Virginia. No balls, 1 strike. 0-2. The D-backs picked up Gosselin in a trade with the Braves. The Braves got the mystery man of last year, Bronson Arroyo, who was with Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Arizona, and never made a pitch. 0-2. And got him looking. So Gosselin, who in brief at-bats did well last year, hit over 300, but this time caught looking. Down he goes. And the shortstop, Nick Ahmed, coming up. So Baez, who throws so hard, picks up a strikeout. 2 down. Ahmed grounded to short and popped up. One ball and no strikes. Ahmed 0 for 2, batting 9th in the lineup, and as we mentioned at the very start of the game, he likes batting 9th. One and 0. That's in there. 1-1. And pop foul behind the plate. Late start for AJ, but doesn't make any difference. It's well back in the stands. There are a lot of players involved. A couple of years ago, the Diamondbacks in Atlanta. The Diamondbacks traded Justin Upton, and in all of the players involved, Nick Ahmed and Randy Delgado are with Arizona. And golf, that ball, that thing was so low, it's going to land right in the first row of seats for a home run. So Baez, who is often victimized by home runs, that thing was almost in the dirt from up here, and we have a 1-1 tie. And this big crowd stunned. Though Baez gives it up. See if we can catch the location. Watch this pitch. Yeah, down there below the knees. In fact, his right knee almost touched the ground. And the ball gets in the first row, and we have a tied up game. Ahmed is certainly not a power hitter. He had one home run a couple of years ago. He had no home runs. Played for Reno most of the year. So Nick Ahmed, of all people, batting ninth, hits a home run, and we are even. Dodger bullpen was pushed around quite a bit up in San Francisco. There's a drive to dead center. Going back is Thompson to the track at the wall and makes the catch. So for Pedro Baez, he throws hard, but it doesn't mean very much. One run, one hit, one swing of the bat. And at the end of 6.5, a 1-1 tie. A 1-1 tie thanks to that home run by Nick Ahmed. With 2 out in the 7th inning, the 9th hitter in the lineup hits the home run, and we're all locked in, and Tyler Clippard now will pick up from Pat Corbin. Corbin pitched very well. He gave up 1 run on a squeeze play and held the Dodgers to the 1. So now we're 1-1 bottom of the 7th inning, and for the Dodgers, A.J. Ellis, Pedro Baez, or a hitter, and Kike Hernandez. Jock Peterson, now that there's a right-hand batter, and Jock is in the on-deck circle, so Peterson will bat for Baez. Ellis a little late on a high 91-mile-an-hour fastball. A.J. bunted in the run and the squeeze play and hit into a force. 1 run, 6 hits for each team. Big overhand, big breaking ball. Tyler Clippard, 6'3", 200-pounder, wears glasses, born in Kentucky. He was drafted by the Yankees out of high school 12 years ago. Briefly came up in 2007 with the Yankees. Was 3-1 and went back to Scranton. Ball 2, 2-1. Great. Terrific changeup. Boy, that arm was flying towards the plate, and then out of it came a soap bubble. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And that's going to be pulled down the line, but hooking way foul and out of play. Sitting quietly, very disappointed. Pedro Baez comes in, makes only 9 pitches, and it's a tie game. So Chris Hatcher is back up in the bullpen, 1-1. And a line drive the other way to right field. Peralta runs it down at the line, and A.J. will hold on. Nice bit of hitting, getting a pitch away and just not fighting it, going with it. So Ellis with that line drive single and Jock Peterson being called back, and Charlie Culberson will be coming up to bat for Baez.
And hitting for the Dodgers,
Charlie Culberson, good man to have around. He's an infielder, played the outfield and made a great catch in San Francisco on a ball hit by Angel Pagan. Culberson hitting .286. Well, you have a 1-1 tie, 7th inning, and all heads will gather at the mound. The first thing they have to decide, do they think that Charlie Culberson will be bunting? So Charlie, who made the diving catch in left field, he played a lot of infield all during spring training. So we'll see what he does. All right, Charlie's about ready. 26 years old, out of Rome, Georgia, trying to advance A.J. Ellis. Charlie lives in Smyrna, Georgia. So Clippard has given up a line drive single. We'll see whether Culberson's up there to bunt or not. Shows the bunt, gets it to Goldschmidt, who makes an accurate play, and Culberson bunts into a double play. Boy, that was a good play by Goldschmidt, having to turn and throw accurately to second. So for Culberson, just like that, we have 2 out. The bunt is down, fielded by Goldschmidt, quickly to his shortstop, Ahmed. Ahmed gets it back to Segura. So 3-6-4, and we have 2 down. And ball 1 to Kike. So everything going sour so quickly. Baez relieving the starting pitcher, Maeda, who did so well, 6 innings, no runs. That's going to be a foul ball out of play. Dodgers get a run on a squeeze. Baez comes in as usual, throwing 96, but obviously his fastball doesn't move enough. The velocity is there, but for Pedro, it seems like almost every tough spot he's hit for a home run. So a young pitcher with a great arm, but still a question. Big over-the-top pitcher, Tyler Clippard. First came up with the Yankees briefly, then with the Nationals. Pretty good career with the Nationals, then briefly with the A's and the Mets. Kike, 2 singles, grounded out, 2 for 3. And strike 3 call. Clippard reminds you a little bit of Cole Mentor with Arizona, almost like a pitching machine. Goes way over the top and straight down and got his man. So at the end of 7, a 1-1 tie. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. Yes, it was a big day for everybody here, all those great players, and I'm allowed to go on the same field with them for a moment. It is an amazing feeling. It was a miracle, I guess, when you think about it. First opening day, 1950 for me. The pitcher who started that game, Don Newcomb. And 67 years later, we're standing on the mound at Dodger Stadium. Whoa. Well, here's Chris Hatcher. 1-1 tie, 8th inning. Looking at the crowd to get the attendance, it is a sellout. You would certainly expect that on a gorgeous day. 53,279. Of course, the seating arrangements here down through the years have been changed. When they first built the ballpark, they said the attendance 56,000. I'm not sure if they ever had 56,000. 55, yes. But even in the World Series, I'm not sure about 56. Of course, another thing which was kind of embarrassing, after Dodger Stadium was built, they made a mistake. The foul poles down in left field and right field were in foul ground. So they had to rearrange the seats to make it the way it is in fair ground. 3-2 foul back. By the way, if you look at the foul poles, you'll see something different. There's a screen with an ad on the screen. I actually saw what caused the rule to change. Honest. You know, for years they just had a foul pole. They didn't have a screen. 3-2 the count. I was a kid and I was in the Polo Grounds. The Giants were playing the Reds late in September. I was there free, of course, either with the PAL or the CYO. Harry Kraft, who was a very good center fielder for Cincinnati, came up in a tied-up game and hit a ball down the left field line. Ground ball to short to Seager. One away. There were a group of taxi cab drivers sitting together in the upper deck. Kraft hits the fly ball down the line. I think the umpire was Major Kurth, but I'm not sure. He called the ball fair for a home run. The Giants swore it was foul. The taxi cab drivers kept waving and hollering like, call it off, it was foul. But it was called fair. The Giants had a shortstop named Dick Bartell. They used to call him Rowdy Richard. He was an explosive type player. Ball one. Anyway, Richard got into a face-to-face argument, and he was accused of spitting in the umpire's face. So first the Giants lost the argument. The Reds won the game. And the Giants lost their first-string shortstop for 10 days and took a nosedive. They were, I think, in third place at the time. Well, that argument about the foul pole resulted in the screen that you see today. And I was a little kid. I had nothing to do with changing the rule, but I saw it. Yeah. Big deal, right? Oh. Hatcher now behind 3-0. We have a 1-1 tie. We're in the 8th inning. Brito, Goldschmidt, Peralta still trying to get a run. And there's a high fly ball into deep left center. Hernandez looking up. It is gone halfway up. And for Paul Goldschmidt, just another great moment against the Dodgers. So the Dodgers had a 1-0 lead. Baez gives up a home run. Hatcher gives up the home run. And just like that, it's 2-1 in favor of Arizona. Goldschmidt, I believe that's the 14th home run he's hit here at Dodger Stadium, and maybe the 22nd that he has hit in his career. Fly ball going foul and out of play. So Goldschmidt had been 0 for 3, and as we mentioned at the start of the game, the top hitter in history at Dodger Stadium was the great Roberto Clemente, who hit .388 in his career. Last year, Goldschmidt hit .397 and hit 8 home runs against the Dodgers. Buster Posey hit .368 and hit 3. And Nick Ahmed, who homered today, was hitting .352 against the Dodgers last year, and he had 3 home runs. But for Goldie, it's routine when he comes to this ballpark. I'm checking now. I believe that's his, I said 21, and that being number 22. I think that's correct. A remarkable player, Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, the numbers are right. It's 2-1 Arizona, and we're in the 8th inning with 1 out. Another fly ball. This time it's Puig making the catch. 2 down. Friends, you know what a standout high school senior athlete is? Well, if you do, then nominate him for a chance to be named a Time Warner Cable Sports Championship Drive Scholar Athlete and receive a $2,500 college scholarship. Go to twcschamp.com now and get more information. A student athlete. When the Dodgers come up in the 8th, Puig, Gonzalez, and Turner. Oh and 1. The Chris Hatcher facing Wellington Castillo, who has singled, fly to center, singled again. Check swing foul. He just tried to hold up. 0-2. Castillo was the man who was out at the plate on that great relay from Puig to Turner, who threw an arrow to A.J. Ellis. With 2 strikes, they unload the left side of the infield. Kendrick goes back to playing a regular second base. 2-1 Arizona, top of the 8th. Fastball hammered to left field. 1 hop and off the wall. It was not touched, so the ball's in play, and it's a double for Castillo. So the Dodger bullpen that was really questioned in San Francisco, now all of a sudden you had Baez come in and give up a home run, Hatcher come in and give up a home run, and now a double.
Number 22, Jake Lamb.
And Jake Lamb, who has 2 doubles and popped up. So 53,279. Somewhat stunned. The Dodgers got to run the hard way, a squeeze play in the 2nd inning. They're going to take the bat out of Lamb's hands for sure. And they held on to that 1-0 lead until Nick Ahmed, who hit 3 home runs against the Dodgers last year, hits a surprising home run with 2 out in the 7th to tie. No surprise if Paul Goldschmidt does something to beat the Dodgers, and sure enough, he hit the home run to untie the game. So it's 2-1 Arizona. They only won 2 games here all last year while losing 8. So Hatcher now gives up the intentional walk.
Left fielder number 24, Yasmani Tomas.
Tomas has struck out, reached on an error, and fouled out. So 2 on, 2 out, 2-1 Arizona. Ricky Weeks, veteran who moved over from Milwaukee, and he's on deck to be the hitter for Clippard. And ball 1. Dodgers gave away a lot of runs up in San Francisco. Even the starters had problems. And then when the reliever gives them up, that's the most painful time in the game, and that's what happened here. 2-0 the count. So Chris struggling, home run to Goldschmidt. Peralta on out, but then the double to Castillo, the intentional walk to Lamb, and he's behind 2-0. For Goldschmidt, it was a haunt from last year. The count when Goldschmidt hit the home run, 3 balls and no strikes. Well, you talk about throwing a lamb chop to a lion. 3-0 to Goldie. 22 home runs against the Dodgers and 14 in his career here at Dodger Stadium. 2-0. Laying off that low fastball. Good speed, 96, but below the zone. So the 3-0 pitch hurt him against Goldie. He's now 3-0 to Tomas. Lewis Coleman begins to warm up quickly in the Dodger bullpen. Fastball in there. All right, 3-1. Tomas has a lot of power. They have to be careful with him. Dave Roberts, Rick Honeycutt. And that's low, and the bases are loaded. So Chris Hatcher has walked 2 and given up a double and a home run. So Honeycutt on the phone. Roberts obviously upset. And is he going to go to the mound? Yep. So the batter might be Ricky Weeks, and before he can come up, Roberts making his way out to the mound. Ricky Weeks is still there, so he's going to hit no matter who the pitcher might be. So Dave Roberts talking to Hatcher in timeout for the moment. Now he says go to the pen. So Lewis Coleman will come in and relieve Chris Hatcher, and we'll be back. LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Well, the Dodgers struggling coming out of the bullpen. They have not only given up the tying run, Arizona now leading 2-1. And they bring in Lewis Coleman, and he will face the veteran hitter Ricky Weeks. Ricky, who had a career with the Milwaukee Brewers. He came up to the Brewers in 2005 and left them this year. So that's a career indeed. Although last year he was with the Mariners. So Coleman ready to face Ricky. And a strike. Bases are loaded. Castillo at third, Lamb at second, Tomas at first. A home run, a double, and a couple of walks in the inning. Good sidearm sinker. Ricky Weeks and Prince Fielder. They were good buddies going all the way back to when they were 11 years old. When Ricky was in college, show you his speed, he stole 65 out of 66. He went to Southern University in Baton Rouge. Big sidearm sinker. Coleman is the man who was with the champion Kansas City Royals and got a championship ring even though he didn't play. And he has collected in his career 6 championship rings, 5 in the minors, 1 in the big leagues, and looking for 1 with the Dodgers. 1-2. Fastball 2-2, so the deuces are wild. In the Arizona bullpen, Daniel Hudson, a right-hander, begins to loosen up. So bases loaded, 2 out, 2-2 the count. Arizona leading 2-1. Tough pitch, sinker low and in. So Lewis Coleman in a very tough spot before a sellout crowd. It's been Maeda, Baez, Hatcher, and now Coleman. The Dodgers starting pitching, by the way, has been outstanding. Got him on a big sweeper down and away. A slider that gets Weeks. They leave the bases loaded, but they score the tie-breaking run. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th inning. 2-1 Arizona. We're going to the bottom of the 8th inning, 2-1 in favor of Arizona. And here's the box score for the Dodgers. Up on top, 3 hits. That's Hernandez and Puig. Then down in the bottom third, you have a base hit by Ellis, plus that bunt single, the bunt for an out with the squeeze play. So the Dodgers are doing okay hitting. 1 run, 7 hits. The bullpen has let it get away for the moment. And now Daniel Hudson will come in to face the Dodgers, and it'll be Puig, Gonzalez, and Turner. Dan Hudson, among other things, has had the Tommy John surgery twice. Yasiel Puig hit into a force play, fly to right, doubled, made a great throw, hitting his cutoff man. A great throw by Justin Turner to the plate, and Wellington Castillo was erased. Oh, 0-1. And did it hit him on the hand? I believe. And he'll get first base. Yasiel Puig hit on the hand, appears to be okay. Fastball just ran in and got him. I was interested in the fact that Daniel Hudson has had surgery twice. Tommy John. Baseball always concerned about injuries, especially for pitchers. They figured out there's been a loss of about $1 million a day on injured pitchers. Check swing foul. Adrian started to go and didn't. In the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen begins to warm up. Adrian Gonzalez today popped up, struck out, fly to left. The two outs with the bat going towards the left side of the infield and left field. Though he has not been able to get a ball to pull, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Daniel Hudson entrusted with a 2-1 lead in the bottom of the 8th, coming off 2 Tommy John surgeries. And that's stroked into right center, and it's going to be a sliding trap by right fielder Peralta. It's a base hit for Gonzalez, and the Dodgers now have 2 on, nobody out, and Justin Turner coming up. So a great effort by David Peralta, but the best he could do is trap it. Never did touch it with the glove at first. So 2 on and nobody out. Daniel Hudson in trouble. I knew what I wanted to find out when I mentioned the fact that Hudson has had 2 Tommy John surgeries. From 1974 to 2015, 400 players underwent Tommy John surgery. 400. So here's Turner. Foul ball. Justin popped to second, popped to short, grounded out. So he's a hungry hitter. He's not hit the ball out of the infield. Oh and 1. Hudson lives in Chandler, Arizona. Born in Lynchburg. Fastball 0-2. When Hudson was growing up playing Little League ball, among those joining him to play was a fellow who grew up to be Justin Upton. So Puig hit by a pitch. Gonzalez singles to right. First time he was able to pull a ball today. And now Turner. It's 2-1 Arizona. We're in the bottom of the 8th. Nobody out. Check. A little low. Tough ball game. Dodgers got a run in the second inning by a squeeze play. Held 1-0. Until a home run by Nick Ahmed tied it up. And then Paul Goldschmidt in the 8th inning untied it. And now the Dodgers trying to come back with Turner and Kendrick waiting on deck. One and 2. Got him. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, so there's nothing wrong with Daniel Hudson anymore.
Second baseman, number 47.
2 surgeries and he can throw that hard. Another thing about the game, it has been very much of a contact game. Corbin struck out 1. Clippard struck out 1. And now Hudson strikes out 1. Maeda struck out 4. So here's Kendrick. Single to right, grounded to short, fly to center. Fastball sliced to right field, racing over Peralta and picks it off. Tagging up at second is Puig, and he'll get over to third. So Kendrick, a long foul, and that leaves it up to Trace Thompson. In fact, he is not going to come up, and they'll probably bring in Jock Peterson at this spot to hit for Thompson. So Kendrick fouls to right. Chase Uttler is the one coming up. So Utley comes up. Peterson made an appearance in the on-deck circle an inning ago, called him back, and we thought he'd be coming up.
And your attention, please. Pitch hitting for the Dodgers. Number 26, Chase Utley.
So Chase Utley will come up. Let's see if that forces the hand of Chip Hale. A left-hander, Andrew Chafin, is in the bullpen. First and third, 2 out for the Dodgers, trailing 2-1 in the 8th. There's Chafin. Skip Hale doesn't show any sign of going to the pen yet. And apparently he will stay with Hudson. So Chase Utley checking in at the plate, hitting .310. Had a good series in San Francisco. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Yasiel Puig at third is the tying run. 2 runs, 8 hits for Arizona. 1 run, 8 hits for the Dodgers with an error thrown in. Slicing fly ball to left field. Yasmani Tomas is there. And the threat goes down the drain. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 left. And at the end of 8, 2-1 Arizona. And we've reached the 9th inning. Be sure to enjoy MLB.TV Premium for a new low price this year. Watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply, of course, but visit MLB.TV for details. Well, the Dodgers changed things around. Howie Kendrick is now in left field. Kike Hernandez, who was in left field, is now in center. And Chase Utley, who appeared for 1 pitch as a pinch hitter, is now at second base. Nick Ahmed, with 3 home runs against the Dodgers last year, homered today in the 7th inning to tie up the game against Pedro Baez. Ahmed grounded to short, popped up before he lowered the boom. Hitting .292, the 9th man in the lineup. For the Dodgers, Maeda went 6, no runs. Baez came in for an inning, gave up a home run. Hatcher came in and gave up a run. Coleman got him out in the 8th. Lewis pitching in the 9th. Jansen rarely, if ever, comes in the 9th inning when the Dodgers are behind. Ahmed 1 for 3, a big home run. Breaking ball. Off speed, just like a slow slider almost. Here's his home run. A low pitch almost in the dirt. He hit it into the seats.
Second baseman number 2, Gene Segura.
Ahmed, 6'3", 205 pounds, and stays in there and is nailed. So Ahmed hit by the pitch and awarded first base. Ahmed apparently all right as he goes down to first. Remember, Puig leading off in the 8th inning was hit by a pitch, and now Ahmed leading off the 9th is hit. I don't believe there's any thought of intent. So timeout. In case you wonder, and we have the time to talk about it, Howie Kendricks out there in left field. You always think of Kendricks as a second baseman. This will be his 27th career appearance in left field, but he hasn't played the position since 2013 when he was with the Angels. Well, they're still talking to Ahmed down there. 2 runs, 8 hits, no errors for Arizona. 1 run, 8 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. Gonzalez maybe thinking about a pickoff. Ahmed runs pretty well. One year he had 40 stolen bases when he was at Lynchburg, so you know he has speed. And 9th inning, he's aboard. And here's Segura, hit by a pitch, grounded to second, single to short, and a long out to center. This time pops up. Who's going to get it? Kendrick? Yep. So Segura, a fly ball to left. They don't think sacrifice. He's a good hitter. So Ahmed at first, and the batter, Socrates Brito. Brito flied to right, struck out, fly to center, grounded out. 0 for 4. Runner goes, hit and run shot down the line. That's an easy double for Brito. And here comes scoring to the play as Utley's throw is to third base. So Arizona, a hit batter and a 1-out double by the man with the great name Socrates. And it is 3-1 Arizona.
44, Paul Goldschmidt.
And now Paul Goldschmidt coming up. Goldie struck out, flied to center, grounded to short, and then on a 3-0 pitch, hit a home run. Dodger infield has to play up, and the outfield, certainly with Hernandez and Kendrick, they started up, but they've been moved back a bit. And a strike to Goldie. 0-1. You better not go 3-0. He hit a 3-0 pitch for the home run. He's hit 3 3-0 pitches. He's had 3 singles and a home run. So in his career, when the count's like that, he's 4 for 12. Paul Goldschmidt. All he did was hit .397 against the Dodgers last year. Off the plate. When you talk about fellas who have hurt the Dodgers, you don't really hear the name Ahmed mentioned. But last year he had .352. He had 3 home runs against the Dodgers. He has a home run and now has scored to make it 3-1. In there. 2-2. Two and two. So Socrates Brito feeds the Dodgers the hemlock. Arizona leading 3-1. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 9th, they have Seager, Ellis, and the pitcher spot. Dribbler smothered by Seager and throws to first just in time. But of course the run scores. A great effort by Seager to prevent that thing from going through. So they get Goldschmidt on a good play, 6-3. But Brito carries in the run. Four to 1 in favor of Arizona. A tough 1-0 Dodger lead has exploded. So Coleman is allowed a run. And then the second run coming in. Fly ball over the head of Hernandez, but he gets back there. It's high enough and he can catch up to it. However, Arizona coming on strong. 4 runs in the last 3 innings, and they lead 4-1. A crowd of 53,279, the majority of whom, of course, came to the ballpark to cheer the Dodgers on, and for 7 innings they were cheering. And then things changed, and in a hurry, when Nick Ahmed hit a home run in the 7th inning to tie it up. Then there was a home run by Paul Goldschmidt, and then they added 2 more runs on a big triple by Socrates Brito, and it is 4-1 Arizona in the bottom of the 9th. A reminder, it will be Ruby De La Rosa and left-hander Alex Wood tomorrow night, and Robbie Ray, and fresh off the no-hitter Stripling, will be on the mound for the Dodgers. So Seager will lead it off, And then Peterson is on deck. He will bat for Ellis. Seager is flied to right, walk, popped to short, 0 for 2, hits one inside third and down the line. So Seager is on his way for 2. Tomas throws into second base, but Seager is in there with a double. So Brad Ziegler, the veteran coming out of the bullpen for Arizona, is immediately greeted by the double. And Jock Peterson will be coming up. Brad Ziegler, to say veteran, he just about wrote the book as a veteran. He has fastball, cut fastball, slider, changeup. Throws that sidearm sinker. Against the Dodgers, in his last 33 appearances, his earned run average is a half a run. On deck is Yasmani Grandal as Jock Peterson checks in, grounds it to the right side to Segura, and they get him. So Peterson grounding out. Seager advances, but one pressures out, used up.
Pitch hitter number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal will now come up. He will hit for Coleman. Grandal last year had a great half a year, and then from all the foul balls that got him on the shoulders, he really had a lot of problems. This year he's had problems with his forearms. Well, he's here now hitting. Takes a strike. 0-1 to Yasmani. All of his power as a left-handed batter. That hangs on the corner. 0-2. Ziegler out there on the mound, I believe, still has a streak, the longest active save streak. 1-2. I don't know if it was broken this year or not, but I know he did have that streak. Brad originally signed by the Phillies in 2003. 36, will go on 37 shortly. Talking about streaks, Ziegler began his career with a major league record 39 consecutive scoreless innings. 2008. Ground ball for the second out. No play at the plate. So for Grandal, he grounds out but picks up a run batted in. Dodgers are now down 4-2, 2 out in the ninth. So here's Kike. Singled in the first inning, singled in the third, grounded out and struck out since, and ball 1. That sinking fastball coming sidearm by way of third. 1-1 to count. So he gave up a double to Seager, 2 groundouts to get the run home. And the Dodgers now down to their last strike. One and 2. Four runs, 9 hits for Arizona. 2 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. Fouled away. So Arizona able to win only 2 games here last year while losing 8. Trying to start off this year with a high step and a win. Tomorrow night, Ruby De La Rosa and Alex Wood. And that's in there. Strike 3 called. And that'll do it for Kike and for the Dodgers. So for the Dodgers, unfortunately for them, the bullpen gave it up. After 6 strong innings by Maeda, hanging in tough with Corbin, the Dodgers led 1-0. And then Baez gave up 1, Hatcher gave up 1, Coleman gave up 2, and that was the ball game. The play of the game, even though for a losing team, was the ball hit into right field, retrieved by Puig, made an accurate throw to Justin Turner, and Turner threw a perfect pitch to A.J. Ellis, who tagged out Wellington Castillo. A great defensive play, but to no avail as Arizona beats the Dodgers 4-2. Tomorrow night, De La Rosa and Wood. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.